What is up, Bleacher Report? Jesse here with Last Second Sports coming at you with another 49ers Daily. And if you've been keeping up with NFL news over the last 24 hours, you will know that Terry McLaurin is not too happy with his contract over with the Washington Commanders. I guess it's not just the 49ers that have disgruntled wide receivers. It is the Washington Commanders this offseason. Terry McLaurin's an awesome player, man. He came out the same year as Deebo Samuel. He went, I believe, round two. The 49ers took Jalen Hurd, and they could have had Terry McLaurin. But Terry McLaurin has been nothing but consistent his whole career. He's been in the NFL for 6 years. He has had 1,000 yards for 5 straight years, and the only year that he missed was his rookie year, and he had like 919 yards. So he's basically right around 1,000 yards consistently throughout his career, regardless of the quarterback. Last year, he had 13 touchdowns when he finally got somebody competent at the quarterback position. And so the question is, should the 49ers, John Lynch, call up their old friend and ask Adam Peters if he's willing to trade Terry McLaurin? Maybe he is, maybe he's not. I like Terry McLaurin a lot. And every time you see behind the scenes there, it's very clear that he's humble, he's a leader. But at the same time, all players have to get paid. I don't begrudge him for doing what he's doing. That wouldn't be a reason to not trade for him. Although I will say he's about to be 30 years old this year, I believe in September. So trading for a 30-year-old wide receiver that you have to pay is probably not ideal with a team that is not necessarily Super Bowl ready right now. If the 49ers were one player away from a Super Bowl, I would say go do that. If that player was a wide receiver, absolutely. I love Terry McLaurin. Now, the other option is, would the 49ers trade Brandon Ayuk for Terry McLaurin? Now, think about this. Brandon Ayuk would get to go play with his pal, Jaden Daniels. He's already under contract. And then the 49ers could get themselves Terry McLaurin and wrap him up in a long-term deal. I do like Terry McLaurin. I think he's a better player at this point in his career than Brandon Ayuk. But again, 30 years old is tough. I also would say that I like his temperament more than Brandon Ayuk's right now. Not that Brandon Ayuk's had some weird things going on this offseason. Terry McLaurin isn't taking to social media. He's not doing anything crazy. He's just simply saying, I need to get paid. You guys know it. I'm going to sit out until that happens. But no other drama other than that. Heck, Brandon Ayuk got paid, and there still seems to be some weird things going on. So, and not that it's not deserved. We've talked about this, but overall, Terry McLaurin certainly, I think, is a better player than Ayuk. I like his temperament more than Ayuk, especially for a young team. But taking on a 30-year-old wide receiver, that is a risk. Paying him, that's also a risk. So I would say right now, and also because if you trade Brandon Ayuk, there's going to be some dead money that you're going to have to take on. I would say that both teams would probably say no to that deal right now, but it is something to keep an eye on. And at the very least, if Terry McLaurin gets traded, then that makes the Washington Commanders that much worse. You know, Terry McLaurin is clearly their best wide receiver, even with Deebo Samuel in house. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I would say for now, if I'm looking at a trade for Terry McLaurin, when it comes to the 49ers, the one that makes the most sense would be Ayuk swap straight across. I don't think either team would say yes. I it's tough, but I don't think I would say yes at this moment either. Brandon Ayuk, I think people are sleeping on Brandon Ayuk. I really do. I know he's posting some cryptic things and maybe turning some fans away. I get all of those things. However, I also think that he's a very good player. And I went back and started to watch all of his snaps from last year. Brandon Ayuk gets open ton, a ton. He can't throw himself the ball. He can't design plays for himself. But Brandon Ayuk gets open a lot. Even last year when he was quote unquote out of shape, maybe from not being there all offseason training with the team. Week one was a little bit rough, but after that, man, he started opening things up and he was getting open on a regular basis. I think when you look at receivers, especially number one guys, when they're not surrounded by a bunch of other number ones or really great players. Sometimes numbers can be a bit iffy. And I think Jawan Jennings early on was a benefit or the beneficiary of Brandon Ayuk being on the field. Brandon Ayuk was taking the number one corner repeatedly. He was open repeatedly, wasn't getting the ball repeatedly, but Jawan Jennings was reaping those benefits. So Brandon Ayuk is still a really good player. Now, of course, coming off of a knee injury, we don't know what that's going to look like, and that is a risk. It is certainly a gamble. The hope is he can get back to being right, being a really good player, because the reason he was signed was to be the future, to be the number one wide receiver. And to me, I love the signing when they made it. A year later, obviously, with hindsight, had I known he was going to have a major knee injury, yeah, of course I would say no to it. But nobody can predict those things. Those are the risks that you take. So for me, I'm keeping Brandon Ayuk. A little bit younger, hoping he can get back to health. And again, if he can, he's still a very, very good player in this league. So I'm saying no to Terry McLaurin after much deliberation. I want to get into PFF put out their rankings, and then that's going to get into a ranking of my own. But PFF put out their rankings for every position, top 32 at every position. And there were a lot of 49ers on their list. So I'm going to tell you which 49ers made their list, where they ranked them amongst their position. Brock Purdy, out of the quarterbacks, 32 quarterbacks, ranked number 11. I think this is totally fair. I personally have Brock Purdy at this point at number 12 in my rankings. Last year at this time, I had him at number 9. But I've said this for a year. Quarterbacks at the back half of the top 10, they rotate in, they rotate out. There's like 6 guys in the league that are bona fide top 10 guys, and the back half of the top 10 is constantly in flux. It seems week to week. You can put a new player in the top 10 and take a player out. You got your Jared Goffs. Forever, it was Kirk Cousins in and out of there. Dak Prescott. Now you've got your Baker Mayfields, your CJ Strouds, your Jordan Loves, your Jared Goffs, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts. Like these guys are in and out of the top 10 all the time. Brock Purdy, obviously, is another one. So Brock Purdy right now has not played long enough, has not been consistent enough to be a bona fide top 10. And so he's going to fluctuate in and out of it. And I don't think that's a bad place to be. Number 11, I think that's completely fair off the season that he just had. Once again, I have him at number 12, roughly the same position. Running back, they have CMC at number 7. Now, if CMC is fully healthy and is 2023 CMC, he's much better than 7. But it's really tough to rank CMC right now because you just don't know. Last time we saw him, he definitely looked like a shell of himself. How much of that was due to the injury? Did he lose a step? Time's going to tell. Can he stay healthy? There's a lot of good running backs in this league, and none of the running backs that haven't played yet that are rookies that are good players too, at least good in college. The Ashton Genties, the Omarion Hamptons, the Travion Hendersons, the Quinshawn Judkins, and more. They're not on this list yet. So I think 7 is a safe spot, a fair spot for CMC. I actually like most of the rankings here. I don't know that I really maybe 1 or 2 I quibble with a little bit, but I understand where they're coming from. George Kittle, they ranked the number 1 tight end. Man, I mean, you certainly can argue it. George Kittle's an absolute stud. There's no denying that. There's a reason that the 49ers reworked his deal, extended him this offseason. Well deserved. Very, very good player still. Fantastic player still. There's some good up and coming tight ends, but when you look at consistency and longevity and all those things, still playing at a high level, I think this is fair. George Kittle should be the number 1 tight end. There's some good young guns coming up, but right now George Kittle's established. He's been there. He's still playing at a very high level. And yeah, I think 1 is completely fair, especially if he's staying healthy. Trent Williams, they ranked all tackles, not just left tackles. They had him at number 4. Again, I think this is fair. Trent Williams hasn't had a full season in like 8 years. He misses a minimum of 3 games every single year. He's 37 years old. didn't play much last year, is still supremely talented. There's no denying that. But how healthy can it be? And even though he's talented, he's probably lost a little bit. You can't, I mean, he's definitely not in his prime. It's just not 37-year-olds are not in their prime still. So even if he's lost a little bit, come back to the pack a little bit, still obviously a top 5 guy. I think saying number 1 anymore or locking him into that number 1 spot would just be completely unfair to the rest of the league. Trent Williams at 4, I feel good about. Here's one that I liked a lot. This made me feel really good. Dominic Pooney, number 10 on the list of guards. I really enjoyed this one. Dominic Pooney had a fantastic rookie year. Absolutely love what he brings to the table. So happy they were able to get him in round 3, and he's just played out of his mind. He did trail off a little bit towards the end of last year, but most rookies do hit a rookie wall. Dominic Pooney looks like a very promising player. I'm hoping he can take that next step this year, maybe get into that top 7, top 5 range, but just keep ascending a little bit. Stay consistent, stay healthy. Love Dominic Pooney. Very, very happy he's on this team and happy that he got the recognition because he absolutely deserves it. They have him number 10. Jake Brendel, they have him at 25. And Jake Brendel hasn't been a good football player, really. I mean, he made the Pro Bowl unjustly a couple years ago. He's certainly a player I would like to replace. Dahlman, who was a free agent this offseason. I think they had it like number 4 or 6, somewhere pretty high. It would have been a major upgrade. Let's just put it that way. But they were unable to get their hands on Dahlman. He went to the Bears. We'll see how it works out for them. But yeah, Jake Brendel's a replacement level player. And you think about it, when we rank the tackle position or Dominic Pooney being a top 10 guard, that's left guards, right guards. That's 64 starting guards in the NFL. Top 10 is pretty impressive. 25th out of 32, not very good. And I would say that the center position is more important than the guards. I would go left tackle, center, and then, you can mix in maybe left guard, right tackle. I would say right guard for a right-handed quarterback might be the least important offensive line position. But the center position is pretty important. And to be 25 out of 32 starters, not ideal. Not ideal. Nick Bosa, number 4 on this list. I was having an interesting debate on social media a couple weeks ago, and I forget who I was debating with, but they were saying, oh, Nick Bosa's top 3 and he's not number 3 and it's not close. You can't name 3 better. And I'm like, I'm not saying that he isn't top 3. That's not my argument, but to act as if he's a lock top 3 guy when guys like Myles Garrett exist, who's clearly number 1, you got TJ Watt, Max Crosby. There's some good players out there. PFF has him at number 4. I think this is fair. He's still a fantastic player. Another guy on this team, by the way, that probably doesn't get the love that they deserve. Probably doesn't get the love that they deserve. So, that's that one's debatable. I could see him top 3, but 4 for now is fair. I think I skipped over Brandon Ayuk. Did I skip over Brandon Ayuk? I feel like I did. They had him at number 19. Much like CMC, by the way, it's hard to rank. Last year, he would have easily been top 10 going into the regular season. But coming off of an injury, you just don't know. If he's slowed down a little bit, he's still probably top 20-ish. But I think this is fair. And these rankings aren't permanent. Players move up and down every single year. This thing changes. I think this is fair for now. But listen, if Brandon Ayuk is right and healthy, I still think he's a top 10 wide receiver. I do. No, I mean, why would it change from year to year? If he is healthy. Again, that's a big if. Fred Warner, number 1. That's the second 49er to be number 1 in their respective position. Of course, I absolutely agree with this one. I mean, there are some other good linebackers, but Fred Warner is the best. It's him and Roquan Smith and then everybody else. And I would say Roquan's a clear number 2. Different players, definitely different players. For their teams, they're awesome. Fred Warner, number 1. Obviously, I don't have an issue with that. And then the one that I probably have the most, not issue with, I take the most exception with is Diamador Lenore at 23. And I don't even take that much exception. I do think most 49er fans, if you ask them, they would say that Diamador Lenore is a top 10 corner. And there's a lot of stats out there that would back this up. A lot of stats actually that would back that claim up. But hear me out for a second. I think he's closer to 20 than I do 10. I don't think he's 23. I went through the rankings and I had him like 17 or 18 as I was going through my list of players. Hear me out why I have him closer to 20 than I would 10, regardless of what the stats say. First of all, stats can be a little bit muddy. You have to remember he's not guarding number one wide receivers like a lot of his peers on this list. They guard the number one guy week in and week out. So, yeah, it's impressive that he hasn't given up a touchdown in X amount of games or X amount of snaps, and other guys have given up a couple. But when you're going against the best week in and week out, you're going to give up a touchdown a season. It's just the way that it works. Diamador Lenore hasn't had that pressure yet. In fact, this will be the first season that Diamador Lenore is entering the season as the number one corner on the team. That previously had gone to Tarvarius Ward. Diamador Lenore has played a lot in the slot, which is tough. Don't get me wrong. But it's very different than playing on the outside consistently and guarding the number one guy. So until Diamador Lenore does that, and he's put a lot of pressure on himself, you can't rank him much higher than where I have him. You certainly cannot put him top 10. And a lot of those stats don't mean much when you're going against number 2 and number 3 receivers while these guys are getting the number 1 guy. I'm not saying Diamador Lenore cannot do that or he won't do that. But right now, before he's proven it, you can't just assume that he can, will, and will be awesome at it. So I, I think he's ranked a little low, but not as not as low as some people I would assume would think that he is. So for me, 23 is a little low. Like I said, 17, 18, but it's closer to fair than being not. I will say that. But all of these rankings with PFF have got me thinking, who are the top 10 49ers if you had to go through and rank them? Who would they be? Think about this for a second. I want to give you a second. I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm going to give you a second to think about it. Come up with your list and let's see how close our lists are. Do I leave somebody off that you have on or vice versa? Very curious to see what your list is. Now, I do want to lay a ground rule, though. I want to lay a ground rule. A couple of the guys on this list were injured last year. Okay. Let's assume they're all 100% ready to go. Let's assume they're closer to their 2023 form than their 2024 form. They're healthy. That's all we can do at this moment. CMC may be washed. We'll find out. Ayuk may be washed. We'll find out. Trent Williams may be washed. We'll find out. I doubt that's the case, especially for Trent Williams, because he's not coming off of a major injury and he's looked very good last year. So we will see, but I'm going to assume health, and I want you to do the same for your list, and let's see how that impacts it. All right. Player number 1 on my list, Trent Williams. Trent Williams, a bona fide Hall of Famer. Without him, the 49ers absolutely struggle. He is the heartbeat of this offensive line. He's been so fantastic for so long. He's a leader, a voice in this team. He's just that dang good. And he may not be the best left tackle in the league anymore, but he certainly is close. And the left tackle position is extremely important. So I am going to say that Trent Williams is the best football player still on this team. Number 2, I have Fred Warner, who is the heartbeat of the defense. He's the captain, number 1 linebacker in the NFL. Obviously been a fantastic player for a long time. Absolute leader of this team, leader of this defense. I've got him number 2 on my list. Number 3, I would have Christian McCaffrey. I had a debate last offseason with a couple friends that I do shows with. Who's more important to this offense? Is it CMC or George Kittle? I was shocked that they took the George Kittle route because to me, it's clearly CMC. We saw what CMC did for 5 games for Jimmy Garoppolo. We've seen what CMC has done to help Brock Purdy out and this offense out, this red zone offense out, to be particular. CMC is a major, major difference maker. So for me, again, assuming health, assuming that they are closer to their 2023 form for these guys that were injured last year, CMC, number 3 on my list. Number 4, the aforementioned George Kittle. Again, probably a Hall of Famer. If not, he's, a season away from it. Fantastic tight end. PFF has him number 1 in the league. Don't know that I would argue with that. He is an elite, elite tight end. He's had a fantastic career. Last year, played every single game. He hadn't done that in a couple of seasons. So shout out to George Kittle, man. He is a really, really good player. I've got him at number 4. Number 5 on my list. And as I made this list, I got to number 8, I think. And then I realized I had left a couple people off and I started moving some things around. You kind of forget how much talent is still on this team, man. It is crazy. The names that I'm giving you, again, assuming health, holy moly, these are some good freaking players on this team. A lot of them still. So you look at this top 10 and you compare it to a lot of rosters, it definitely holds a candle. So 49ers should be okay this year. They should be okay. Number 5 on my list, I have Nick Bosa, former defensive player of the year. Sack numbers are certainly down, but he's still extremely dominant at times. Sack numbers don't tell you the full story. Again, I will never forget when Nick Bosa left that second Seattle Seahawks game and the difference, the confidence level that Geno Smith had the moment that Nick Bosa was off the field was absolutely insane. Geno Smith plays terrified against the 49ers, always has. Then all of a sudden, Nick Bosa gets off the field, and it's like, where did this guy come from? What's up with the running, walk-off touchdowns, has all this swag, confidence, throwing all over the yard, leading a game-winning drive? That is not the Geno Smith that ever showed up with Nick Bosa on the field. So I'll never forget that. Nick Bosa is absolutely a difference maker. I've got him at number 5 on my list. Number 6 on my list, I've got Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has really been a good player the first 2.5 seasons of his career. Like I said, I've got him number 12 on my quarterback rankings. And we'll see. I think this is a big year for him. We're still learning a lot. He got paid big time. And now it's time to go out and kind of carry this team a little bit. But, some of the quote unquote Avengers are either hurt or, coming back from injury, what have you. Some are no longer on this team. So we'll see, how healthy is CMC? How healthy is Brandon Ayuk? Obviously, we know George Kittle's a dog, Trent Williams and all of that, but Deebo Samuel's no longer on this team. So, yeah, Brock Purdy is going to have to carry the load a little bit more. Ricky Pearsall hopefully steps up. Juwan Jennings continues to play at a high level. Maybe Watson comes in and plays well. There's still some good players on this team. I'm going through them right now. So it's not like he's void of talent surrounding him, but it's not what it was 2 years ago necessarily. CMC is going to be the biggest piece to Brock Purdy, I think, having a major bounce back year this year. But Brock Purdy deserves to be pretty high on this list, and I've got him number 6. Number 7 on this list, I've got Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk, again, 1,000+ yard receiver. Without him, they may not be in the Super Bowl. Helmet catch, always open, it seems like. Extremely good route runner. I knew that Brandon Ayuk was going to be that deal. Rookie year, they played against the Buffalo Bills at home. Nick Mullins is playing quarterback, and Tre'Davious White is at the peak of his powers at this time. He lines up against Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk gives him an out fake and just leaves his cleats planted right where he was at, cuts in, makes a beautiful catch. Said to myself right then, Brandon Ayuk is going to be a player in this league. And he has. He's turned into a fantastic one. Hopefully he can come back and be healthy. Maybe stop some of the social media stuff. Brandon, I know that whatever you got going on, brother, but it's not ideal. But as a football player, if you're right, awesome, awesome player. So I've still got him high on my list. A player that I think he's helped develop and turn into a good player on the defensive side of the ball is Giamador Lenore. I really think he's kind of mentored him, pushed him along, made him compete in practice, and has made him a better player. I've got him at number 8 on my list. Yamador Lenore is moving into that number 1 corner spot. Again, PFF has him 23 on their list. I have him around 17 or 18. I do think he has the talent to move into the top 10. I do. He's just going to have to prove it for a year. But as far as having all the heart in the world and believing in himself, Diamador Lenore is not short of confidence. He's got plenty to give. So he's not gonna not play great because he's not confident. That's for sure. I've got him at number 8 on my list. Number 9 on my list, Jawan Jennings, this close to 1,000 yards last year, got himself thrown out of week 18. Tenacious blocker, an amazing competitor. Balls in the air, it's his. Third in Jawan, and he's expanded upon his game. Another very, very good player. The Draymond Green, really, or the Dre Greenlaw of this offense. I mean, absolutely big part of this offense. Brock Purdy trusts him. Hopefully, he can continue to play at a high level. And then number 10 on my list would be second year player Dominic Pooney, who again ranked 10th out of all guards in the NFL. Hopefully, he continues to ascend, but he deserves to make this list. It's a pretty dang good list. I'm going to go through it one more time. Number 1, these are the best 49ers, in my opinion, ranking them 1 through 10. Number 1, Trent Williams. Number 2, Fred Warner. Number 3, CMC. Number 4, George Kittle. Number 5, Nick Bosa. Number 6, Brock Purdy. Number 7, Brandon Ayuk. Number 8, Diamador Lenore. Number 9, Jawan Jennings. And number 10, Dominic Pooney. Where did I get it right? Where did I get it wrong? You tell me. Drop your lists down below. And until next week and another 49ers Daily Bleacher Report, this has been Jesse with Last Second Sports. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.